Okay, and I am using my cheat sheet here because it is 1 a.m. here in Gibraltar, and I don't want to trust my memory when I'm this tired. So, welcome everybody. I'm Susan Macbeth, the founder and owner of Adventures by the Book, and off screen and in the chat box is Brooklyn, who will be calling the bingo today. We're glad you are all here for our first bingo session of 2026, Fall in Love with Blackstone Publishing. So you will see that we have 6 amazing Blackstone Publishing authors here today to talk about their books. And we have a special treat for you at the end that Francie and Sarah from Blackstone are going to talk about a few other titles and authors they have. So that's really exciting. And then, as always, you have to stay to the end because that's when we do our giveaway. Each of the authors has generously donated a book. So there will be 6 prizes at the end of the game. For those of you who are not familiar with Book Bingo, we play it in the chat box, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. But if you're not on our mailing list, you should get on our mailing list because we send out e-blasts every Sunday telling you what kind of fun events we have coming up. Our next virtual event is going to start on March 1st. It's going to be March all day long. All month long. We have 20 New York Times best-selling authors doing a virtual fundraising event in support of Sue Monk Kidd, who has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and is not able to tour for her newest book. So we decided we wanted to support her. And joining us will be 20 authors you'll see on our social media every day during the month of March. We'll be posting about it. And then on March 31st, all 20 authors will be joining us, including Sue Monk Kidd's daughter, who herself is a New York Times bestselling author. And any books purchased from the start to all the way to March 31st in the event, we'll donate 20% of the proceeds to Parkinson's Foundation. So it's going to be really special. And okay, that's it, I think. All right. So on to bingo. How this is going to work is Brooklyn is going to make bingo calls in the chat box. They won't be said out loud, so you need to pay attention to your chat box, but we don't want to interrupt our authors. You can win a bingo by vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. It does not have to be a blackout. And so Brooklyn just typed an example of how she's going to make a bingo call. She's going to type it in all caps and then type the word out. If you see it on your specific bingo card, you have to click on the card. It is an electronic card, and the system keeps tabs of your calls, not us. So we don't make the mistakes. It would be them. And then once you have a bingo, you're going to say bingo and type your name and your email address in the chat box. And we'll call 6 winners. And Brooklyn is going to be throughout the game, in addition, putting links in the box. So you'll see that she put a link to the Sue Monk Kidd fundraising event. You can click on that on our website. When our authors are speaking, she's going to be putting up their links in the chat box as well. One bingo card, one bingo winner per email address. So you can't win more than once. I'm trying to think if there's any other rules I haven't thought about. If not, you can ask in the chat box and Brooklyn will answer those for you. But I think we're going to go ahead and get started because we have 6 amazing authors that you'll want to hear from. And I am asking the authors to kind of keep track of their own time because once they start, they usually don't pay attention to me, thankfully, and they lose track of time. And I don't want to interrupt you in your presentation. So we're going to start with James Wade, who is joining us from Texas with scorpions and wasps and all kinds of critters out there. So James, make sure you turn off your microphone. James is the youngest novelist to win 2 Spur Awards from the Western Writers of America. His debut novel, All Things Left Wild, was listed as one of the most influential Westerns of the 21st century by True West magazine and included in the Los Angeles Times 1001 Novels, A Library of America. His Southern Gothic mystery, Beasts of the Earth, was named a best book of 2022 by both Deep South Magazine and the Southern Review of Books. He's a four-time finalist for the Austin Chronicle's Best Writer in Austin Award. I feel like if I read any more credentials, we're going to run over time. That's amazing, James. In his gripping coming-of-age odyssey, excuse me, Narrow the Road, a young man's quest to reunite his family takes him on a life-altering journey through the wilds of 1930s East Texas, where both danger and opportunity grow as thick as pines. And I've read it. It's gripping. We can't wait to hear more about it. Welcome, James, and please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, hello, friends. We get to start with me. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Susan and Brooklyn and everybody at Venture Brother Books for having us. I'll start by saying it's great to see so many Blackstone authors in one place, right? This is really cool, and I hope everybody finds some good reads that are perfect for their book clubs this evening. And yeah, we're gonna start with mine, which is Narrow the Road, which I have here. The beautiful cover design by Catherine English at Blackstone Publishing, and then this book follows William Carter, who he's a teenage boy during the Great Depression in East Texas. He sets off from his failing farm to find his absentee father in hopes that his father can help right many of the wrongs that are in William's life. And the small cotton farm that they own is failing. The bank is threatening to foreclose, to auction off their home, and his mother is also gravely ill with a condition that is basically above the local doctor's area of expertise. So. William's father, Thomas Carter, is going through his own trials after protesting in Washington, D.C. for the release of war bonds for himself and his comrades. Thomas witnesses the United States government turn violent against its own people, sending police to disperse the protest, which results in the killing of two war veterans. Now, this is an actual historical event known as the Bonus Army that took place in 1932. So now his father is suffering from this crisis of faith, both in his country and his religion, mixed with PTSD, mixed with his guilt. And his last known whereabouts are somewhere in the Big Thicket, which is one of the wildest, uncharted areas of the country at the time. And so William, our boy hero, sets off on this journey, but he's accompanied by his best friend Ollie, who is a mortician in training, which provides much needed levity and comedy in William's life, but also some hard-earned wisdom as well. Both boys are eventually joined by Lena, a teenage girl who has run away from a traveling medicine show owned by the dangerous, the nefarious Dr. Downtane. Now, the three of them must find William's father before they're found by Downtane. During this journey, everyone is keeping secrets from everyone else about the true purpose of their journey, and these secrets begin to slowly come to light as the group encounters a host of colorful characters in East Texas, including bootleggers, ex-monks, even the famous Bonnie and Clyde. So, in the macro, what I would say is that this novel is a meditation on purpose, on meaning, on seeking out some form of comfort, some form of solace during this very uncomfortable existence. But at the micro level, it's about things that are more common to us. It's about friendship. It's about love. It's about the ability to push through, even when there are things, even when the things you want to rely on, right? Say your family, your government, your religion, whatever. All these things are kind of letting you down, and so there's a grit, but there's also tenderness. There's a darkness, but there's also humor. And ultimately, I think the thematic elements that are at play are really ripe for discussion in a book club setting, right? So what I'll say, and this is where it gets really gross for me, but I'll shake it off. In the 6 months that this book has been out, it's received a starred review from Publishers Weekly, which is something that about only 5% of the books that go through Publishers Weekly receive each year. It's recently won the 2026 Western Heritage Award for Outstanding Novel. It's helped garner my own induction into the Texas Institute of Letters. as well as earned the Dobie Paisano Fellowship, which what I was talking to Susan about earlier. I'm coming to you live from the Paisano Ranch here in Central Texas, which is the Dobie Paisano Fellowship is kind of the I don't know, it's the premier fellowship here in the state of Texas for writers, and this is the former residence of J. Frank Dobie, who is widely considered to be the grandfather of Texas literature. So, all that to say, the book has done well. It's helped me out. I hope it can do some good things for you and your group. And of course, I'm available to come to you in person if you're here in Texas, or I'd be happy to Zoom with you, visit with you. And you know, if you want to find out more about this book, about me, I'd encourage you to visit my Instagram, which is at James Wade Writer, my website, jameswadewriter.com, or based on the theme of tonight, visit blackstonepublishing.com. Learn about all of the writers here tonight and some of the special book deals on our novels that Blackstone has set up. So I'll be here for the rest of the night. Feel free to message me in the chat. And thank y'all so much for your time, man. I really appreciate that. And being a part of this is really cool, man. So yeah, let's talk.
Thanks so much, James, and congratulations on all your accolades. That's pretty impressive. And as he mentioned, he's interested, as it are all of our authors. All of our authors are Adventures by the Book member authors, which means they are available, interested, excited to meet with you, with your book club, with your library group, with your reading group. You just go to our website, adventuresbythebook.com, pick your author. We have many book clubs who only pick Adventures by the Book authors every month, and they just go to our website and sign up for the coming months. And you can do that too with any of our authors. So make sure to make notes of who your favorites are, and make sure to give a new author a try. If it's somebody not familiar to you, give them a try, because you'll be pleasantly surprised, I assure you. And he also mentioned all his social media handles. I wanted to let you know that we also send thank you emails after the event, which gives all the contact information on how to follow and support our authors. So you'll get it that way as well. So thank you, James. Next up, we have Charles Fancher. Charles is a writer and an editor and a former senior corporate communications executive for the Philadelphia Inquirer, Philadelphia Daily News, and for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. He has also been a journalist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Detroit Free Press, and a publicist for ABC Television Network. Red Clay, his book, is an astounding multi-generational saga that chronicles the interwoven lives of an enslaved Black family and their white owners as the Civil War ends and Reconstruction begins. We cannot wait to hear more. Welcome, James. Charles, I'm sorry. Welcome, Charles.
Well, I'm awfully glad to be here. And, Susan, it's just downright cruel, I think, to make me follow that incredibly accomplished James Wade. But, we'll do what we can to hold up our side of it. Let me tell you a little bit about Red Clay. The tone for it is set in chapter 1 when Adelaide Parker, an elderly white woman, says in 1943 to a young Black woman that she's meeting for the first time, she says, "A lifetime ago, my family owned yours." And that's the beginning of a conversation that takes place between these two women, in which long buried secrets emerge from the final months of the Civil War and later from the Reconstruction era, when most of the action takes place. The Reconstruction, of course, was the period when America had a chance to live up to the promise of the Declaration of Independence, and chose instead to follow a path that would eventually lead to Jim Crow, which some have referred to as American apartheid. The novel spans generations, crosses oceans, bridges racial gaps and cultural chasms to examine the story of America. It's the America that was, it's the America that is, and the America we might yet become. It's a story about the choices that we make and the consequences of those decisions for ourselves and for those around us. It's a story of tender romance and bitter heartbreak. There's exuberant life and violent death. There's selfless generosity, but there's also loathsome greed. It's a story that presents the best of humanity in contrast with humanity in its most vile manifestations. Red Clay, which is the title of the book, but also the name of the fictional southern Alabama town where most of the action happens, takes readers into the daily lives of the people on a plantation as the Civil War draws to a close. We meet two families, the Parkers, the white owners of the plantation, and an enslaved Black family with whom they share a last name and an inextricably linked future. Through the white Parkers, we experience the power and comfort of the daily lives of the planter class, supported by an army of unpaid Black laborers, and we also gain insights into their fear and dread of what will happen if the South loses the war. Through the Black Parkers, we feel the degradation of life for enslaved Black people whose humanity has been stolen. But more importantly, we see their strength, their courage, and their determination to survive each day. And through the two families, we see the struggles of both the white Southerners and the Black freedmen to adjust to the new post-Civil War reality in which all of the legal rules had changed, but societal norms had not. And that inherent conflict sets up the conditions for much of the culture wars that we're still fighting today. For me, Red Clay is a deeply personal story. The main character, Felix Parker, an enslaved boy when we meet him, is inspired by family anecdotes about my real great-grandfather. It's the fictionalized Felix whose life serves as the thread that binds the story together. We see him grow from childhood to young adulthood and to his death as an 83-year-old man, facing challenges, but also experiencing joy along the way. Fictionalized versions of his wife, Zilpha, and my great-great-grandparents, Elmira and Pleasant, are all key players in this saga, and I've tried to portray them as flesh and blood human beings with flaws, as well as the ingenuity and strength of character required to overcome the devastating impact of slavery and the ferocious pushback against their efforts to succeed after emancipation. Although most of the action takes place in Red Clay, so named for the brick-colored soil and also for the blood that was spilled there, the story also takes readers to Paris, to the south of France, and also to New Orleans, locations that add color and drama, but which are also critical, essential to telling the story. So if you haven't already read Red Clay, I hope you'll give it a try. And if you have read it, I'd love to visit your book club. In fact, just before our event this evening, I was on with a book club in Boston, Massachusetts, arranged through Adventures by the Book. We had a wonderful discussion. We dug into lots of issues. It was great fun. And I would love to visit your book club as well.
Thank you, Charles. And you're getting all kinds of accolades in the chat box, and it's scrolling too fast for me to read. But Sarah mentioned not that Charles also just won the NAACP Image Award for Best Debut Novelist this week. So congratulations for that. That's incredible. I was going to say it's a great pick for Black History Month, but I'm opposed to Black History Month only being told in February. It should be told every month of the year. So you should schedule him any month of the year and not just February. Thank you, Charles. It was a pleasure. Next up, we have Erin Bledsoe. Erin is a historical novelist who writes books about women who break boundaries. Love that. Her book, The 40 Elephants, is best described as a gender bent Peaky Blinders meets Ocean's 8 tale of London's first female gang, a group of high stakes shoplifters who robbed the city's classiest department stores in the 1920s, and the woman who comes to rule it, the notorious Alice Diamond. In her most recent book, Mob Queen, which is set in the 1930s, follows one woman's rapid rise through the mafia as she searches for the truth about what happened to her friend and navigates a perilous relationship with the infamous Bugsy Siegel. Oh my gosh, Erin, tell us more, please.
Hi, yeah, so I obviously have to show this beautiful cover. But yes, I wrote Mob Queen and the 40 Elephants. I have the 40 Elephants, but I didn't bring it to the camera. I'm so sorry. It's also beautiful. The cover is amazing. Um, like I said, I like to write bad girls of history. They're my favorite so far. Mostly the ones that I can like find some moral ground to cover on. I have done some research where there's just too many bad girls and I can't get that dark. But Virginia fell into the ones I was very curious about. Virginia starts as a waitress at the Chicago World Fair in 1933, and by the end of the book, she is at the top of the mob. What was so interesting to me is historically, she is a footnote in Bugsy Siegel's story. So I was curious about how that happened, and the more research I did, I found out she was a key player in the mob during the time, and a lot of that is covered in Mob Queen. Now, I do have a fictional element where we kind of follow Virginia having to search for her friend, which puts her within the mob. And she slowly rises through various affairs and she becomes a courier for them. And then eventually she gets involved with Bugsy Siegel. At the time, Bugsy Siegel was not really loved. So there was a lot of people out for him, and she ends up being a key part in his death. But historically, we really don't know what happened to him. So it's a fun little note to play at. Did she? Didn't she? Was it this person? Was it this person? By the end of the book, there's so many people it could have been, but it's interesting to think Virginia had something to do with it. Um, I think one of the reasons she appealed to me so much, aside from the 40 Elephants, which follows a gang, Virginia Hill for me, there is a lot of abuse in the book. And I think I had a lot of that growing up with my mom. And I was able to sort of understand a lot of the choices she made based off the abuse that she went through. And one of the things that makes, especially with book clubs, that I've noticed is I will get in there and we will start talking about her, and it will always be just the women in the group are just, I don't know what I would have done in that situation. And I think I love that question looking back on these women who made these decisions that we consider just really awful now. Um, but reading these stories and realizing the kind of positions they were in and seeing the choices they made, I love that question of like, what would I do? And I can't answer that. And a lot of my readers can't answer that because we feel for the women in the stories. Um, yeah, but Mob Queen has a lot of crime, a lot of female empowerment. You kind of watch her rise from the bottom to the top. She makes a lot of sacrifices to who she is and what she wants, and she ends up kind of liking the power a bit. And yeah, that's Mob Queen. And yeah, like I said, some of my favorite book conversations during different book clubs. I went to a book club recently, and it was older women in the 60s, 70s, and I was like surrounded by like eight of them, and they were just, they loved the book. And I did not realize I had an audience for female crime, but I do, and I appreciate every single reader who likes to learn about these obscure women that we just don't talk about, doing bad things, but we can kind of relate to them in ways we didn't realize.
Fabulous. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Erin. Okay, next up we have Jennifer Dornbush. In Jennifer's work as a screenwriter, author, speaker, and forensic specialist, she seeks to shed light and hope in the dark places of the human experience. The television or movie screen is the closest most people will come to ever witnessing the forensic world, but she actually lived it. As the daughter of a medical examiner whose office was in their home, she investigated her first fatality, an airplane crash, when she was just 8 years old. In her new novel, What Darkness Does, part of her wildly popular The Coroner's Daughter series, Dr. Emily Hartford finds herself dredging the depths of Lake Isabella and her own past relationship. So fascinating. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back, and it's good to be with my Blackstone peeps and all of you readers. This is the book that we're talking about tonight. I had my it's getting a little blurry, isn't it? What Darkness Does. And this is it's a crime thriller. There's definitely a detective element, but it's probably the darkest. It's a pretty dark topic. So yes, because it's based so in this book we have Dr. Emily Hartford, who's our medical examiner, and she's teaming up with Detective Addison to face off against a very sadistic killer who's just killed a young mother. And they find her drowned in Lake Isabella, and the problem is her infant is missing. Her baby daughter has gone missing. So basically the book is kind of a race to stop him because he's got more victims that he's targeting and that he's got to get rid of, while also trying to find this infant baby who they are just praying is alive. So that's kind of the premise of it. I think it's great for book clubs because I've been told that it reads really quickly and that it's a page turner and people are like staying up late past their bedtimes to finish it, which is always a lovely sign. I'll take that over any accolade. So I think what I should also mention, it is inspired by a true crime, by a serial murder that happened in my small community in Michigan. So I became really captivated by this story that I hadn't heard that happened in the late 90s. And so I went into a really deep dive and thought it would make kind of an excellent case for Emily and Detective Addison to track down. What I did with you definitely follow Dr. Emily most of the way, but there are multiple points of view, including some of the victims and the killer. So I think that helps with the page turning because you're getting into the heads of other characters as well. It's available in print, Kindle, audio, all those things. So if you prefer to listen to it rather than read it, that's available to you also through Blackstone. And I have a book club guide to this. I'm going to actually just drop it in the chat. Let me see if I can get that in here. It's just, there it goes. It's a PDF that my team made. It is so good. I love it so much. It gives you all kinds of different discussion questions. There's like recipes, like it sets up the whole, book club night for you. But yeah, I think it's a really fun, good, interesting read for book clubs. It is part of the series, is the 5th book in the series, but it is a standalone. I've been reading some of the reviews, and the reviews are like, you can read this as a standalone without issue, so don't freak out if you're like, it's book 5. I can't start at book 5. You can start at book 5. You'll be fine. Trust me. So yeah, that's What Darkness Does, and keep the lights on while you read. So.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I love that you provide all that stuff because then you get a whole multi-sensorial experience, not just a book club meeting. So sounds really fun. Thank you. Next up, we have Brian Freeman. Brian is the New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of 30 novels that have been sold around the world and translated into 23 languages. His novel Spilled Blood won the award for Best Hardcover Novel in the annual Thriller Awards. And his novel, The Burying Place, was a finalist for the same award. His novel, The Deep, Deep Snow, was a finalist for the Edgar Award for Best Paperback Original. And his debut, Immoral, was an Edgar finalist for the best first novel. I mean, it's like everything he writes is gold. In 2019, he was selected by Putnam and the Robert Ludlum estate as the official author to continue Ludlum's famous Jason Bourne franchise. His newest novel, Photograph, is an emotional, cold case mystery of hidden identities and startling twists, perfect for fans of Lisa Jewell, Mary Kubica, and Frida McFadden. Welcome, Brian. Tell us more.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. And hey, everybody, thank you for being with all these wonderful Blackstone authors tonight. I've had the good fortune of working with Blackstone for more than 20 years, all the way back to my very first book in 2005. And we just love Blackstone, and they give you wonderful stories month after month, year after year. Well, here is Photograph. This is my 33rd published novel, which I still find kind of hard to imagine. But if you've read any of my earlier books, like The Deep, Deep Snow or Thief River Falls, or any of the books in the Jonathan Stride series, you know that I like to write mysteries and thrillers with an emotional core. So I always tell readers that I want you to have three things happening when you're reading my books. I want you to laugh. I want you to have that little tingle of fear, and I want you to cry. And I think in Photograph you'll do all three. Well, the original inspiration for Photograph actually came from a real nonfiction book, a photo essay book called Mid-Century Memories. It's one of these books where people would send in pictures from back in the 1950s, just sort of random anonymous photographs. And the author compiled these into kind of a study of what life was like back in the mid-century. And of course, you know how thriller writers think. I was looking at this book and thinking, well, gosh, what if one of those photographs opened the door to this very twisty mystery? And that was kind of how everything started to take shape for Photograph. The book is told by a Florida private detective named Shannon Wells, and I just love Shannon. She's very funny. She's fierce. She's very Florida too. She runs her detective agency out of a tiki bar in Daytona Beach, right a stone's throw from the ocean. So one day, a woman comes to Shannon with a very strange request. She says, "Find out who I really am." And the trouble is, soon this woman is dead, and Shannon still doesn't have any idea who she really was. And the only clue to her identity is this 25-year-old photograph of a little girl standing in a motel parking lot near a pop machine in the rain. How could something like that be a motive for murder? Well, that's my tease for Photograph. I'd love to have a chance to talk to you and your book club about it. There are discussion questions over on my website, so you can find that there. But I hope you enjoy all these wonderful novels tonight, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Brian. And you guys won't be sorry for picking his books and scheduling visits with him. The books are fascinating. Thank you. Next up, Jon Bassoff is the author of 10 novels. His mountain gothic novel, Corrosion, has been translated in French and German and was nominated for the Grand Prix de Littérature, I don't speak French, award, France's biggest crime fiction award. Let's just say that. His psycho-noir novel, The Disassembled Man, has been adapted for the big screen with a filming set to begin within the next 100 years. I love that. He also wrote the screenplay for Bizarre Love Triangle, which was named semi-finalist at the New York Cinematography Awards and a finalist at the Seattle Film Festival for Best Short Film. His newest book, The Memory Ward, is a haunting Russian doll of a novel about one man's attempt to discover what's real and what isn't. They say it's always beautiful in Bethlehem, Nevada. No place you'd rather live. The people are friendly, if a little nosy, and there's no crime to speak of. Life is pretty perfect. But postal worker Hank Davies has started to suspect something is off in this idyllic little town. And he's certain of that when he realizes the letters he's been delivering are just blank pages. Come on, Jon, fill us in. Tell us more.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me, and I'm totally humbled to be around these Blackstone authors. All these books sound absolutely amazing, and thanks for putting this together. Yeah. So this is my latest novel, The Memory Ward, and if you're if you're somebody who's into cozies and you want to do knitting circles and gentle mysteries, I'm probably the wrong guy for you. But if you're looking for some psychological unease and the slow realization that something is very, very wrong, then we might get along just fine. I absolutely love meeting with book clubs, and I'm willing to discuss most anything, whether we're talking about the structure or publishing or rejection or inspiration or even revealing my darkest literary secrets. I've been a high school English teacher for many, many years, so I'm comfortable with discussion, and I promise not to assign any homework. So, Memory Ward takes place, as you kind of heard there, in this idyllic little town. We've got the white picket fences, we've got the green lawns, and all the rest of it. And the protagonist is a postal worker named Hank. Hank's living his life, married to a lovely young woman, and delivering mail to the cheerful townfolk, but all is not as perfect as it seems. So one night, Hank can't sleep, and he goes to the kitchen for a glass of water, and he hears a pounding on the window, and he sees a woman that he doesn't recognize. And against his best judgment, Hank opens the window, and the woman says, "Listen, I know you don't know who I am, but I know who you are. And I need to give you a warning. The warning is this: don't trust anybody in this town, including your wife. They're all out to get you." Then, before she leaves, she tells him one more thing. She says, "The truth about the town is behind the wallpaper." So we move a few days later. The wife is out of town. And he notices in his bedroom that the wallpaper there is peeling, and he remembers what the woman had said. So curious, he gets on a chair and he starts pulling it away, and he pulls and he pulls, and underneath the wallpaper, well, you're gonna have to read the book to find out what happens next. I have well, at its heart, I would say the memory ward isn't just about conspiracy or paranoia. It's about identity. It's about what happens when the people closest to you begin to feel slightly unfamiliar. It asks the questions, if everyone around you insists that you're wrong, how long before you start to believe them? Book clubs tend to have really good discussions about whether Hank is uncovering something real or if he's just unraveling entirely. I have another book with Blackstone that also came out recently, and it's this one here called Beneath Cruel Waters, which is a very different style of book. The protagonist here is a firefighter who hasn't come home for his or who comes home for his mother's funeral, and as he's searching through his childhood home, and he hasn't been home in 20 years because there was a falling out. He's cleaning things out. He notices a floorboard out of place, and he's curious, so he begins pulling, gets a pry bar, and he pulls some more. And underneath the floorboard, he spots something. It's an old music box that he recognizes from his childhood. And with trembling fingers, he opens the music box, and inside he finds a love letter, which is yellowing and it's unsigned. He finds a gun, still with a couple bullets left, and he finds a photograph of a man, and the man appears to be dead. So our protagonist is convinced that his mother killed somebody, but who and why? And so this novel sort of explores buried family secrets, small town guilt, the way the past refuses to stay buried, no matter how deeply you try to hide it. It's about grief. It's about how little we truly know about the people we love, and it's about the stories families tell themselves to survive. Both books tend to spark great conversations about trust, memory, truth, and whether the monsters are external or entirely human. Thanks so much for listening. I really would be honored if you choose either one of my novels for your book club. And I'm based in Colorado, so if you're in the area, I can always come and meet you live. But otherwise, love doing the Zoom calls as well. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Jon. And that concludes our 6 presentations, but we have a special treat for you tonight. Is Sarah and Francie from Blackstone Publishing are going to share some more of their authors and books with us. So get out your notepad and pen. Hopefully you've had one all along so you can make notes. And then after that, we will do the giveaways. So stay tuned because you have to be present to win a book bingo prize. So now I want to introduce Sarah and Francie from Blackstone Publishing, who are going to share with us some of their other amazing authors and suggested reads for book clubs. Welcome, Sarah and Francie. We can't wait to hear more.
Hi, everyone. I'm just getting my screen shared with a little presentation from us so you can see some of the great books we're talking about. Very excited to be here with you all today and to share a bit more about Blackstone Publishing and some upcoming books we think would be a great fit for book clubs. I'm Sarah Bonamino, and I'm the Senior Publicity Manager here at Blackstone Publishing.
And I'm Francie Crawford. I am a marketing manager here with Blackstone. So, a little bit about Blackstone. Blackstone is a fully independent publisher with our headquarters in Ashland, Oregon. We have a long history as an audiobook publisher, and over the past 10 years, we've built up a strong print list featuring major bestsellers, award winners, and national book club picks. So, we would just want to tell you quickly about a few of our upcoming favorites for book clubs in spring of 2026.
And I'll just note quickly, we may have some time for questions at the end. So if you do have any questions about publishing or Blackstone, feel free to drop them in the chat. And Francie and I would be happy to address them at the end of the presentation here. So first up on our list is Inharmonious by Tammy Hoof. Perfect for fans of Britt Bennett's The Vanishing Half and Kristen Hanna's The Women, Tammy Hoof's sophomore novel, Inharmonious, follows 4 young Black Americans as the U.S. joins World War II. When the Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor, Florida teens Benny, Lee, and Roscoe feel compelled to enlist and serve their country. Benny's sister Cora and her mother are less convinced about serving a country that has never served them. When Benny arrives for training camp, he is enlisted in a white-only regiment and told to keep quiet. Following the 4 protagonists as the war reaches a fever pitch and the ramifications after they return home, readers will devour Hoof's marvelous historical novel, inspired by the true story of her grandmother and white-passing great-uncle. Inharmonious has received great praise from early readers and publications like Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, and even a starred review from Booklist.
Next up, we have The Author Weekend by Laura Zigman. Everything needs to be just right for best-selling mystery writer Faye Waiter's first ever fan weekend, a meticulously planned retreat set to take place at Great Misery Island. Things begin to look less than ideal when Faye learns that her charismatic rival novelist will be in attendance, but they really take a turn when another attendee turns up dead. With the intrigue and allure of The White Lotus, Laura Zigman's latest novel is a hilarious and thrilling deep dive into the world of publishing, the strain of aging, and the dark heart of envy. Next up, we have Murder at 30,000 Feet by Susan Walter. There's nowhere to land and nowhere to hide in this new locked room mystery from acclaimed screenwriter Susan Walter. Under the cover of turbulence, a nightmare is unfolding on Flight 868, and what started as a nonstop trip to paradise becomes a high-stakes ride where the exits are sealed and the killer is only a few aisles away. Susan draws inspiration from her own father's experience as a pilot, as well as some other high-flying connections that helped her research all the things that can go wrong in flight. And spoiler alert, most of it has nothing to do with the plane. If you're a reader of high-octane thrillers and are game for a ride that spirals more and more out of control, buckle your seatbelts, put your seat and tray table in the upright and locked position, and prepare for departure with this buzzworthy story that reaches high altitudes. An instant USA Today bestseller, Murder at 30,000 Feet is available now wherever books are sold. Next, we have 6 Little Words by Sally Page, author of the beloved novels The Keeper of Stories and The Book of Beginnings. She's returning with a delightful new novel that dares to ask, can one small act of kindness change your life? The story follows Kate, a painter who has given up on painting, as 6 little words, to be or not to be, posted on a bulletin board in her local coffee shop, lead her to a community that helps her reconnect with her creative self. For fans of uplifting stories and late-life coming-of-age stories, this book is for you.
Next up, The Ice on the Lake by Alex Messenger. For Hugh McLaren, the harsh winters of Duluth, Minnesota are just another reality of life, just like the tragic passing of his wife and his estrangement from his children. The only respite from his troubled past comes from ice fishing alone on the windswept expanse of Lake Superior. But when he receives a terminal diagnosis, Hugh enters a new spiral of grief and guilt and regret, making him consider how he might mend his broken relationships with his children. As he heads to the ice during a severe storm, he is forced to reckon with worsening conditions and an even colder storm inside himself. The Ice on the Lake is a novel of resilience and determination, both to survive the fury of nature and to reconcile with the ghosts of the past. Inspired by Messenger's winters spent in Minnesota and his decade-long experience volunteering with search and rescue, this chilling adventure offers a stunning exploration of grief, determination, and the lengths we'll go to for those that we love. And Concert Black by Michael O'Donnell. Book critic and attorney Michael O'Donnell's sophomore novel, Concert Black, tells the story of a fraught push-pull between a biographer and her subject. The result is a psychologically rich exploration of the cost of art and acclaim, perfect for fans of Ian McEwan's Atonement and the 2022 film Tar, starring Cate Blanchett. Celebrated biographer Ellen Rowe sets her sights on legendary cellist and conductor Cecil Woodbridge as her next subject, but the maestro is determined to thwart her efforts at uncovering his truth. Ellen embarks on a relentless pursuit, trailing Cecil across continents, through the archives of his correspondence, into the confidences of his colleagues, and deeper still into the long shadow of his past. Readers are swept through the frostbitten avenues of post-war London to the symphonic stages of Boston and Chicago to witness the duo's tense dance until they collide in a reckoning neither can escape. A novel of ambition and artistry, Concert Black is a symphony of human complexity.
So now that you've heard a little bit about our exciting upcoming releases, we want to tell you a little about the genres we're excited about right now. So as Blackstone has grown, so has our programming, and with the popularity of romance soaring, Blackstone is acquiring more and more new fiction in the space. Our list includes exciting new voices like Kelsey M. Pichike, author of Voice of the Ocean, a YA Little Mermaid retelling with a swashbuckling twist. Christy Healy, author of Unbound, a gender-bent Beauty and the Beast retelling filled with Celtic folklore. And Isabella Kamal, author of The Temple of Persephone, a Regency romance that draws inspiration from the myth of Hades and Persephone. We've also got established authors like Stacey Marie Brown and Natasha Madison, popular best-selling ebook authors, coming to print for the first time with Blackstone, and with never-before-read titles to come later this year. And Monica Murphy, popular contemporary romance writer, continuing to grow her deep catalog of sweet and spicy reads. With so much to choose from, we've got something for every romance reader.
Along with romance, readers right now are returning to the classics in a big way, revisiting books you read or maybe pretended to read in high school. With Blackstone Publishing's state-of-the-art printing facility in Southern Oregon, we are a publisher at the forefront of creating highly designed collector's editions of classics in the public domain. A few of our recent favorites include our sleek and gothic new version of Dracula, our ever-popular Art Deco design for The Great Gatsby, and a forthcoming, beautifully illustrated publication of The Odyssey, coming this May, just ahead of Christopher Nolan's film starring Matt Damon and Zendaya. With many more releases on the horizon, including a spectacularly illustrated edition of Frankenstein, which we couldn't show quite yet, but we are dying to, Blackstone Classics brings eye-catching new additions to readers and collectors everywhere, perfect for gift-giving or to complete your perfect shelf aesthetic.
Thank you all so much for your time today. We hope you heard about a few new books and authors for your TBRs. Anything on our slideshow, but also, of course, our wonderful authors that are here tonight. Our handles are on the screen if you'd like to connect with us online and subscribe to our newsletter for 20% off your first purchase on blackstonepublishing.com. I'll drop that link in the chat as well for ease. But we'd love to open the floor as well now to questions. So if you have any questions for us about Blackstone and about our upcoming books, please feel free to drop them in the chat now.
Thank you, Sarah and Francie. You guys have so many great titles and so many genres. So you can, for any reader, which is great. So yeah, if you guys want to stop the screen share, and we can ask if anybody has any questions for Francie or Sarah about any other titles, any of the authors tonight. We have a few minutes before we announce the winners. But can you remind them how to get on your Blackstone? Oh, you did. You already put the newsletter in there. So just click on that link. You can sign up for their newsletter. It's free, and get all these great titles, and 20% off your first purchase. I mean, who doesn't love that? So
direct from our website, 20% off if you sign up for the newsletter.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, if we don't have any questions, you can always email us or contact Blackstone, contact any of our authors. Again, we'll send out a thank you e-blast afterwards with all the contact information for all of our authors tonight, how you can reach them. But you can always go to our website, adventuresbythebook.com, and pick out the authors there and schedule book club visits. And Brooklyn is putting in that link as well. And so she did call the bingo, and there were 11 winners, but of course we only have 6 prizes. And the reason we call more is because they are required to stay till the end to win. So the first 6 winners I have who will win a book tonight, if they're still present, are Carol Webster, Carol Meyer, Dorothy Miner, Lisa Blumberg, Irene Middlemoss, and Julie Brinkley. So if you are here, you win a prize, and we will be contacting you via email. If you called a bingo and we did not call your name, that means you were not a winner, but you can join us next time and get a chance to win as well. So let's see. I'm looking if there's any questions, anything else we need tonight. So I guess not. So I want to thank everybody, thank our 6 Blackstone authors, and for Francie and Sarah for presenting your titles and telling us more about Blackstone Publishing. And you gave us lots of reasons to fall in love with Blackstone this Valentine's month. So thank you to all our adventurers for coming. We enjoyed having you here, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. So until then, what is your next adventure by the book? Good night, everybody.
Good night.